The Montana winter howled with particular vengeance that night, winds whipping snow into frenzied spirals that bit at any exposed skin. Mason Fletcher pulled his thermal jacket tighter, questioning his decision to check his trap lines so late in the evening. The former combat medic had sought solitude in these mountains after his discharge, finding peace in the rhythm of survival away from civilization. That peace shattered when the sky erupted. The object tore through the clouds, trailing blue-white fire that cast an eerie glow across the snow-laden pines. Mason ducked instinctively, combat reflexes kicking in as the thunderous roar reached him seconds later. Whatever it was, meteorite, satellite, aircraft, it impacted just beyond the ridge with a ground-shaking boom. Holy shit, Mason breathed, watching a plume of steam rise from the impact site. Curiosity and training overrode caution. If it was a plane, someone might need help. 20 grueling minutes of uphill hiking through knee-deep snow brought him to a smoking crater. What lay half-buried wasn't military or civilian aircraft. It was unlike anything he'd ever seen. The sleek, silvery craft was barely larger than an SUV, its hull covered in geometric patterns that seemed to pulse with faint luminescence. Mason approached cautiously, weapon drawn. A section of the craft had ruptured, revealing a darkened interior. From within came a sound, soft, rhythmic clicking followed by labored breathing. "Hello," Mason called out, hard hammering. "Anyone in there?" The clicking intensified. Mason leaned forward, peering into the fractured hull. That's when he saw her. The being was humanoid but unmistakably alien. Tall and slender with alabaster skin that seemed to shimmer with an iridescent quality. Her features were elegant, angular, high cheekbones, almond-shaped eyes, and delicate gill-like structures along her neck. Where human hair would be, crystalline filaments cascaded down her back, catching the moonlight in prismatic sparks. She was also clearly dying. Her body trembled violently, strange blue-tinged blood seeping from wounds along her torso. The temperature gauge in Mason's watch showed -15 degrees Fahrenheit, brutal cold that would kill a human quickly, yet she seemed to be struggling for warmth, not from the cold. "Jesus," Mason whispered, holstering his weapon. Alien or not, his medic's oath tugged at him. The being's eyes snapped open, startling violet irises with horizontal pupils focused on him. She didn't shrink back in fear, but instead extended a 6-fingered hand toward him, each digit tipped with translucent claws. Around her wrist was an intricate metal device that projected faint symbols into the air. Mason hesitated only a moment before taking her hand. It was ice cold, her skin temperature far below what any human could survive. The alien spoke, her voice melodic but incomprehensible, the clicking sounds forming a complex pattern. The device on her wrist flickered, symbols rearranging before projecting a simple image, a flame, then a circle with a line through it. Heat. But no heat? Mason frowned, then understood. "You're overheating," he said, noting how her skin seemed to be developing a concerning sheen. "You need cold? Colder than this?" The alien's expression shifted to what might have been relief. She nodded, a surprisingly human gesture, before another spasm racked her body. Mason made a split-second decision that would change his life forever. He shrugged off his backpack and pulled out his emergency medical kit. The alien watched warily as he retrieved cold packs, breaking the chemicals to activate them before carefully placing them against her skin. She sighed, a sound like wind through ice crystals. "I need to get you somewhere safer," Mason said, knowing she couldn't understand but speaking anyway. "My cabin is about 2 miles from here. Can you walk?" He pantomimed walking with his fingers. The alien attempted to rise but collapsed immediately. Mason caught her, surprised by how light she was despite her height. Her body temperature was dropping rapidly, a good sign, he guessed. As Mason lifted her into his arms, the alien's head lolled against his shoulder. Her eyes, those strange, beautiful eyes, met his with unmistakable intelligence, and something more, absolute vulnerability. "I've got you," Mason whispered as he began the treacherous descent through the snowstorm. "I don't know what you are or where you're from, but I've got you." The widow from the stars shivered in his arms, unconscious but alive, as the Montana wilderness swallowed them both in its frozen embrace. Dawn broke across the mountains as Mason finally reached his cabin, his arms burning from carrying the alien woman through the snow. His breath clouded in the frozen air as he shouldered open the door with his burden. "This is going to be tricky," he muttered to himself, laying her gently on the kitchen floor, the coldest spot in his warm cabin. The alien's eyes fluttered open, panic flashing across her features as she registered the indoor heat. Her crystalline filaments stood rigid, and her breathing quickened dangerously. The wrist device projected rapid symbols that Mason couldn't decipher, but her distress was unmistakable. Too warm, Mason realized aloud. Hang on. He ran to the freezer, yanking out ice trays and frozen packs, dumping them around her body. The relief on her face was immediate but fleeting. This was a temporary solution at best. Mason paced, mind racing. The equipment shed, he decided. The unheated metal outbuilding where he stored his hunting gear would be nearly as cold as outside. Working quickly, Mason cleared space among his supplies and created a makeshift bed from thermal blankets, ironically, to insulate her from warmth rather than cold. When he returned, the alien had dragged herself toward the door, leaving a trail of blue-tinged fluid across his floor. Let me help, Mason said softly, approaching with palms open. I understand now. Heat hurts you. He mimed burning himself, then pointed to her and shook his head. Her violet eyes studied him with remarkable intelligence before she extended her six-fingered hand in what appeared to be acceptance. The move to the shed was awkward, but successful. Once settled in the frigid outbuilding, her breathing stabilized. Mason used his medical training to clean and dress her wounds, noting the extraordinary density of her tissues and unusual circulatory patterns beneath her translucent skin. You're something else entirely, he whispered, fascinated. The alien watched him work, occasionally touching her wrist device, which continued projecting symbols. After a particularly intricate pattern, she tapped her chest. Kaya, she said, the sound like crystal bells. Mason blinked in surprise, then touched his own chest. Mason, ma son, she repeated, the syllables strangely accented but recognizable. Over the next 3 days, Mason divided his time between caring for Kaya and scavenging parts from her crashed vessel. He rigged a cooling system from his freezer components to maintain the shed at temperatures that would give a human frostbite within minutes but seemed to provide Kaya comfort. Their communication evolved rapidly. Kaya proved adept at languages, picking up basic English phrases while teaching Mason elements of her own melodic, clicking tongue. Through drawings and gestures, she explained she came from a world of permanent winter, where her species had evolved to metabolize energy most efficiently in extreme cold. On the 4th night, as Mason checked her healing wounds, Kaya caught his wrist. Her touch, no longer dangerously cold to him thanks to insulated gloves, was deliberate. Ma son, she said clearly. Why? Help Kaya? The question caught him off guard. Because you needed it, he answered simply. She tilted her head, crystalline filaments catching the lantern light. Others, your kind, would fear, would harm. Mason couldn't deny it. Maybe. Probably. I've seen enough war to know how humans react to things they don't understand. But not you. I'm not most people. Mason smiled wryly. Besides, I didn't exactly fit in before I found an alien in my backyard. Kaya's features arranged themselves into what Mason now recognized as her species' version of a smile, a slight parting of lips revealing pearlescent teeth, the gill-like structures on her neck fluttering. My mate, she said slowly, placing a hand over her heart, died in the great conflict. I journey, alone now. Last of my house. Mason nodded, understanding the universal language of loss. I'm sorry. You also, alone. It wasn't a question. Mason looked away. By choice. People are complicated. Yes, Kaya agreed, surprising him with a soft laugh that sounded like wind chimes. All people. All worlds. Complicated. As Mason rose to leave, Kaya extended her hand again. This time, she pressed something into his palm, a small crystal that glowed with blue-white light. Trust token, she explained. Among my people. Sacred. Mason curled his fingers around the crystal, feeling an unexpected warmth spread through his chest despite the freezing air. I'll keep it safe, he promised. That night, watching the aurora borealis dance above his cabin, Mason wondered what twist of cosmic fate had brought a widow from the stars to his doorstep, and why, for the first time in years, his self-imposed isolation no longer felt like sanctuary, but like waiting. 2 weeks passed in a blur of discovery. Mason converted his shed into a permanent cold chamber for Kaya, insulating the exterior while installing additional cooling systems salvaged from her ship. The trust token crystal she had given him proved to be more than symbolic. It contained technological properties that, when activated, projected holographic information about her world, Viridia. Kaya's mastery of English grew daily, her alien mind adept at linguistic patterns. Mason found himself sharing more than he had with anyone in years. about his tours as a combat medic, the marriage that crumbled under the weight of his PTSD, and his retreat to the mountains. Your wounds are not all visible, Kaya observed one evening as they sat in her cold chamber, Mason bundled in thermal gear while she wore only the shimmering, fabric-like material from her ship. No, Mason agreed. The worst ones never are. Kaya nodded, her crystalline filaments catching the light. On Viridia, we believe scars of the spirit alter our biological resonance. They change how we connect. Connect? She touched her temple. My species forms bonds through electromagnetic pathways. What you might call telepathy, though it is more intimate. Only between those who trust completely. Mason studied her face, those striking violet eyes, the elegant structure of her features that had become beautiful to him rather than alien. Is that how it was with your mate? He asked, surprised by the tightness in his throat. Kaya's expression softened with memory. Tarek and I were bonded for 7 orbital cycles. He was a protector, what you might call a warrior. When the Mavari attacked our outpost, her voice trailed off. Mason reached out instinctively, then hesitated. Kaya noticed and, to his surprise, extended her hand. He took it, feeling the cool smoothness of her skin. I understand loss, he said simply. I know you do, Mason. She spoke his name with a musical lilt that made his heart stutter. I sense your resonance. It calls to mine. The admission hung between them, charged with implications neither fully understood. The next day, Mason brought components from her ship for Kaya to examine. Together they determined that her communication array could be repaired, potentially allowing her to contact her people. They believe me dead, Kaya explained. My mission was scientific, to study systems beyond our usual range. The meteor storm was unexpected. As they worked side by side, their hands occasionally brushed. Each time, Mason felt a peculiar tingling sensation, like static electricity but pleasant. He caught Kaya watching him with an intensity that made his pulse quicken. There is something I must show you, she said that evening, her voice uncharacteristically hesitant. About my biology. In the privacy of her cold chamber, Kaya revealed the bioluminescent patterns beneath her skin, intricate networks that pulsed with soft blue light when activated by emotion. This is our true communication, she explained. The patterns reveal what words cannot. Mason watched, mesmerized, as the light traced pathways across her shoulders and down her arms. What are you feeling right now? He asked, voice low. Kaya's eyes met his. Confusion, fear, desire. Desire, Mason echoed, heart pounding. My species can form biological compatibility with others through prolonged proximity. It is rare, but documented in our archives. Her luminescence intensified. I find myself responding to you in ways I cannot explain. Mason swallowed hard. I've been feeling something too. I thought I was imagining it. Kaya stepped closer. Despite the sub-zero temperature, Mason felt heat flush through him. Our worlds are different, she whispered. Our bodies unlike. Yet when you look at me, I don't see an alien anymore, Mason finished. I see you. Her hand rose to his face. Through his thermal hood, her touch was cool, but not uncomfortable. With her other hand, she reached for the trust token crystal he wore around his neck. It pulsed in harmony with her skin's patterns. It recognizes your resonance, she said, wonder in her voice. This has never happened with an off-worlder before. Mason's hand covered hers. What does it mean? It means, Kaya said, her voice trembling slightly, that the universe sometimes creates bridges where we least expect them. The crystal flared between them, casting their shadows against the walls of the cold chamber, 2 figures from different worlds, drawing inexorably closer across the vast gulf of stars that should have kept them forever apart.